Well, good morning. Welcome to your most authoritative news analysis program. We are live on air, current agenda, and you're welcome. This week, Ghana's pulse was tested by tragedy, by economic hopes, and development milestones. From the KWAKYE Stadium sorrow to the 2026 budget unveiling, the Ghana Armed Forces helicopter crash report, the Wild to Muhan road sword curtain, and the famous Nkukon Ketenkete initiative launch. It's been a full week, and we'll pick on a few of these activities to discuss. Well, the Finance Minister, Dr. Kaisel Atuforsen, on Thursday unveiled the 2026 budget statement to Parliament. It outlined a strategic ramp-up in the government spending to stimulate growth through major infrastructure investments. 302.5 billion Ghana cedis in total projected, representing a 12.4% increase over the estimated 269.1 billion for 2025. A significant portion of this rise will be driven in areas to expand capital expenditure and at the same time improve on government's flagship and national projects. Is this some form of relief for Ghanaians? What is it supposed to do to ease the cost of living and pressure on households and businesses? And in line with that, also, the minister announced the scrapping of the COVID-19 levy alongside a reduction in the effective VAT rate from 21.9% to 20%. We'll try to understand what this means. But what does it mean for you, the ordinary Ghanaian? And my panel and I will discuss it into details. For the market woman, what does it mean? Is it more savings for you? For the trotro driver, does it imply lower costs? For the teacher, does it mean he's going to have more to take home at the end of the month? And for the young entrepreneur, what is in it for you in terms of business growth? We'll break all this down this morning and try and understand what this means. And while policy makers were discussing the macroeconomic numbers, a tragic reality also confronted us within the week, where we had young people who had queued up at the KWAKYE to be recruited, going through some difficult times. They left their homes with hope of securing employment. And this was employment in the Ghana Armed Forces recruitment exercise, which turned out to be a devastating day for the whole country. 6 young lives cut short at KWAKYE Stadium. So as we discuss the economic growth, we would also remember the true cost of our broken systems. Now, following this incident, the Minister for the Interior announced the postponement of the nationwide recruitment exercise for the police service, immigration service, prison service, and other security agencies from Saturday, which is today, November 15th, to Monday, November 17th. But the question still remains, can we or can we not do better? Can we have more dignity and less tragedy in national affairs? This is Current Agenda, your trusted morning companion, which is proudly sponsored by Bank of Africa and the National Petroleum Authority. Bank of Africa understands that we all need some financial quick fix every now and then, whether it is school fees, replacing that old car engine or refrigerator, or that car that keeps breaking down, whether you want to even bring it back to life. The quick fix loan package was made with you in mind. Seize the opportunity and let your tough times make way for that soft life you've always been dreaming about. Visit any Bank of Africa branch near you today and enjoy unbeatably low interest rates, flexible terms, and straightforward application process. Call Bank of Africa on 0302-429-333 or 0302-249-690. Or you can visit their website and chat with Fafa on www.boaghana.com for more information. Remember that terms and conditions apply. Bank of Africa as strong as a group, as close as a partner. Also, the National Petroleum Authority says that if you buy fuel from any station, any gas station, and you suspect that you have been dealt wrongly, you have received less than you paid for, Or if you receive poor customer service, you have 48 hours to call their toll-free line and make a complaint so that they would investigate your complaint. Help make the experience better, and that is why NPA is urging all of us that when you see something, when you believe something, when you think something has been done wrong, don't keep quiet. Reach out so that we correct it. We'll take a quick break, and after, we'll have our reflections to dive into conversations that really, really, really bother our hearts. We'll be right back after this break.
Current Agenda is brought to you by Bank of Africa, the African bank with global reach. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner. And National Petroleum Authority, NPA, where customer care meets excellence.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Current Agenda is brought to you by Bank of Africa, the African bank with global reach. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner. And National Petroleum Authority, NPA, where customer care meets excellence.
Welcome back to Current Agenda, your most authoritative news analysis program, proudly sponsored by Bank of Africa and the NPA. Now, this morning on my reflections, I had that the most important thing to pay attention to is when you want to do charity outside, when you want to give outside, when you want to show outside that you are generous, you need to first show it from home. You need to let people from home also see your charity. The real meaning of charity begins at home. Also made me understand that you need to learn how to brighten the corner where you are. And you may be wondering why this was a great awakening for me. They reminded me that I keep talking during my reflections about abandoned projects, talking about projects that have lasted from or had existed in previous governments that subsequent governments have left to rot. But they pointed right in my face one project that is left abandoned, and that is the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation itself, as where I sit today, where you're watching me speak to you this morning. And this morning I'm speaking to you about the abandoned respect and the abandoned vision of the institution. We heard the finance minister read the budget on Thursday. We saw Ghana Broadcasting transmit to the whole country, so that everybody in every corner of the country would have an opportunity to listen to the state and the president speak on how it intends to roll out its plan for 2026. How government and the president accounts or has accounted for what they promised to do in 2025. And it was good, well and done. What broke my heart is to know that right after the reading of the budget, the minister did not think it necessary to be with the state broadcaster to do the media engagement and break it down. That evening, it was at a private media house. The next morning, it was another private media house. This morning, as I speak, 2 private media houses are engaging the minister directly to explain, to speak to the financials that he presented. These are private media houses that are limited in scope and in reach in this country. This is the state broadcaster. Does it occur, has it anybody asked whether any country, the countries we compare to, will the United Kingdom ministers move from the BBC to private media houses to explain government agenda? Must GBC beg to be respected? When we were needed to transmit to every corner in this country, we depended on Ghana Broadcasting. We knew that we would reach every corner. So that one, our doors were knocked at. We were asked to come. We showed up. If it's an event that we have to cover, we show up. But yet government, and this is not to speak to only this government, the previous government did the same thing. You can play every video you would have. You can go on all our YouTube channels and check. All governments that have passed, when they read the budgets, after, which places do they go, which stations do they go to discuss? The same private media houses that they eventually come and tell them that they've misrepresented and misquoted them, are the same people they run to. And yet they wonder why the GBC, the state broadcaster, is not growing. If you keep going to the private institutions, if you keep going to speak to them there, where do you think the eyeballs in the country would go? The mandate that the act that formed the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation gave us an objective, gave us a responsibility to translate things into public or Ghanaian languages. Would it not be proper for the minister or his handlers or whoever it is? It doesn't really matter whether anybody in a private media house now works in his office. It doesn't really matter. GBC does not need to lobby. We do not need to lobby to gain respect. We are state-owned. We are backed by law. We do not determine how much we want to charge for certain things because law dictates it for us. And so we are restricted in some of the things we can do. And so if the state does not give us the support and the strength we need to be able to reach where and how we are supposed to reach, tomorrow you would hear that you should be able to do things for yourself. Our hands are tied because we are backed by law. And this, like I said, has nothing to do with Dr. K. Silato Forsen. The former finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, did the same. The information ministers, you can beg them from the previous government just to even have discussions one-on-one. You would wonder whether it's some scar. We don't really know what the challenge is. Whether it's a belief that when you come here, that the presenters here or the journalists here or the guys here do not have the level or the competence to be involved in in-depth analysis. And so they believe elsewhere, but hey, the grass is not greener at another place. Where you are and what you see, this is what we have. When everything comes crumbling, it's the state broadcaster. In 1993, 1994, when the NPP took the state broadcaster to court, and the ruling was given that we should have or give fair representation to every political party, it was not because they were not happy, it was because they felt that everybody needs a voice for the nation to hear. And yet now, imagine this morning, from the highest point of the nation to the lowest point, in terms of geographical location, everybody this morning watching the finance minister or his deputy sitting here explaining what he said directly to you. Getting it being transmitted on Radio Ghana, which reaches every corner. But no, the state broadcaster should go beg, should come and beg and appeal. I mean, just what, on yesterday morning, the Black Stars played. And the rights to transmit and telecast the Black Star game was given to a private media, not to the state broadcaster. From time immemorial, the Black Stars games have been played when growing up. It's the state broadcaster. We have to keep Black Stars in the public domain. Why should Black Star matches, the very symbol of our national pride, have their international friendly matches being handed over to a private media? Why? Why should we beg for it? That the whole national broadcaster, the Ghana, and the Ghana in there is not there for a joke. The Ghana Broadcasting Corporation is being pushed aside. This is not about media decision. This is a question of national identity, fairness, and public accountability. We are Ghana's storyteller. And for decades, this has served as the backbone of national broadcasting. As children, we sat behind the television at dawn to watch Azuma Nelson, Kotin, DK Poison, Nana Kwame, and the rest box. It was not by private media, it was by the state broadcaster. From Independence Day, Black Stars Glory has always reached your homes through GTV. And every Ghanaian has had an opportunity to enjoy this. What has changed? What has changed? And I'm saying this passionately because when you get in here, the young men and women who are breaking their backs, and if we want to talk about budget, that would be a different discussion, a different day, but who are breaking their backs just to make things happen. And yet still the whole state looks on. Day in, day out, you try to reach out to state agencies, to government information, to the spokesperson department, to the information ministry, communication ministry, and it's as if we are a plague. Everybody doesn't want to be involved. Nobody wants to discuss with you. You can pay attention to our paneling for the past God knows how long and see how it's been. What really is the problem? Has the state broadcaster become a canker that government does not want it to be in its business? You would hear heads have to roll if the state broadcaster is unable to go to a venue to cover an event. But yet when it is done, it's a handshake, a smile, and we go. And wonder why GTV is not growing in space. We wonder why GBC is not reaching where it's supposed to reach. This is my reflection for this morning. And I hope I've done justice to this topic. We are going to continue to brighten the corner. We'll keep reminding them that we are not a last option. We cannot be forgotten. We'll remind them, and we'll keep reminding them until the right thing is done. This has been Reflections from my corner. And I'll leave all of you to continue on discussing these in your homes. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, I will introduce my panel in studio to discuss the budget as the first part of the program. We'll be right back.
This limit, channeling an equivalent of about 20 billion United States dollars in unverified transactions out of Ghana. Right, Honorable Speaker, this was not a loophole. Mr. Speaker, I repeat, this was not a loophole. It was an organized system for exploitation. In fact, an organized crime. Mr. Speaker, persons and institutions behind these activities are being referred to the Attorney General, Economic and Organized Crime Office, the FIC, and CID for investigation. Mr. Speaker, also, the Ghana Revenue Authority will establish a special recovery unit to reclaim
Welcome back. Current Agenda is live on GTV, GBC News, and also live on Radio Ghana. You can reach us on WhatsApp line 053-110-1315, 053-110-1315. Also on all our social media handles on Facebook. You can follow us on Ghana Broadcasting Corporation or also on GTV. Send your comments in. We'll read them during the course of the program. Well, in studio for my extreme Manso Nkwanta and also a deputy ranking member for the Economy and Development Committee. Honorable, good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you're good.
I'm doing well.
Right. Next to him is Professor Lord MENSAH. He's an economist and also a head of the local government services. Prof, good morning. I hope you're good.
Very well.
Right. Next to Prof also is Dr. Peter TERKPER. He is an economist. Doc, good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you're good too, Doc.
Yeah, the grace is with us.
Yes. And to my immediate left, I have Honorable Peter KWAKYE-ACKAH. He's a former MP for Arnenfi Central. Honorable, good morning.
Morning.
I'll be joined on Zoom by Michael BOATENG. He's also a tax expert. So and when he comes in, I would introduce him to you. So, gentlemen, I would just do a quick across the table on the reflections I made. I know you did not prepare for that one, but what you think about the state broadcaster and how we are being treated. That's just 1 minute from across. So maybe I'll start with Prof. Prof, you heard my cry.
Yes, it's a true cry. But then we also, or possibly the GTV, which is a national asset, needs to, reposition itself.
What does it mean?
Wow, that's a very good question to ask. You see, we are looking at a space where we are operating a free market now. State machineries are more or less competing with private, what do we call it, agencies. Gone were the days when we talk about television, you have only GTV. And therefore, should I say information, dissemination is solely, concentrated here. But then, in a space where you are competing, that's where repositioning, comes in. Repackaging, I know GTV has done a lot in terms of, the way they look and even on the screens, how things are being done and all those. But then, how to source for attraction, right? I think we may have to look getting the state machinery to know that this is a state entity, and as a result of that, you see, in the space of competition, you need to be a bit aggressive. You need to be a bit aggressive because if you are not that aggressive, you may not attract attention. And somebody will say, normally we compare characters from different countries and looking at, say, maybe a typical Nigerian, a typical Ghanaian. In Europe and other places. But then, if you go into an environment where you have, high population and all those, the orientation changes. So the aggression that needs to be out there to source for attention is very, very important as far as GTV is concerned. So we shouldn't look at it as a state entity, and therefore the attention will come to us by default. I'm looking at, possibly, I know you are doing well, management is doing well, but you need to do more. In terms of, aggressive. And I know you drive to a point where you say the resource is not there. The finance is not there because maybe you've been starved or not. But then, the other means of financing, public attention, getting public attention. So that is what I would say. Right. We shouldn't be swollen-headed and say that GTV, that used to be, a sole, national, broadcaster, is still the same GTV. You are competing. There's a space for you, and I think we need to work on more on how to market and all those, so that we can attract, attention in the eyes of, the government machinery.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Honorable FOKUO. So I hear Prof say that there needs to be a bit of aggression, and I hear him. However, even that all the food gluts buy and give to the schools, so the buffer stock can supply to the schools. Can't there be some regulation that says that for certain kinds of activities, the sole telecast or the sole person to engage should be the state broadcaster?
Yeah, thank you. You see, there's a bit of a difference when it comes to the media space, compared to, let's say, food supply and all that. In the media space, it's about what people want to be fed on. Okay, what people want to be fed on. When it comes to, let's say, the food gluts that the government is trying to channel, I
mean, the example of the food glut was just to
I get it.
Can be a directive. So basically, yes.
What I'm saying from there is government spending. Okay, government is spending on these institutions, and it can give the directive that these funds are coming from government sources, so use it in this direction. But for the media space, you can't have the monopoly because it's individuals and their own interests that they want to follow. Now, if you look at the youth, I tell you, they're no more interested in TV. There's just a few of them these days even watch TV. They focus on social media more, okay, because there's more content there. So if they watch TV, it means that just some programs that really are of interest to them that they would watch. So do you have such contents for them to even have the interest to tune to your channel or whatever? So it should be from the perspective of your content and thinking about your viewership, what their interest would be. And I'm telling you this, you can find out that if you call 10 of, certain age group, the Gen Zs, probably 6 out of the 10, they've not spent time on TV, except maybe even football these days, they watch on their phones. Okay, so to really attract that viewership, to attract the interest, it must be driven from yourself. Okay. You have to be innovative.
So Honorable, I hear you, and I agree with you that yes, content is very important, because content, if you don't show what the people want, you would hardly get the people wanting to tune in. So that bit I get. We are discussing in this particular context, or my question is on the minister has read the budget. Right after the budget, the minister wants to engage the nation to explain things that probably he could not speak to because the time at parliament was limited. And the minister goes to a private media house and not the state broadcaster. That's where my concern is.
Yeah, the thing is, you see, you go to where you believe probably a lot of the people will tune in to listen to you. Just like you said, he wants to talk to the nation. So probably from his own cursory assessment, he believes there's a particular channel where he will get, most of the people tuning in. If really, from my assessment, I believe that a particular channel will give me the viewership that I want, you hear what I'm saying, I would go there than pretending that, yes, it's state broadcast or state broadcasting institutions, so I must be there when I know probably the viewership or whatever will be small. So it's about the objective that you want to achieve. Right. But state or not state, when it comes to the media space here, I tell you, I think we shouldn't be so much fussy about it. Honestly, it's about not really. It's a world of competition. If you're able to bring yourself up to a certain level, people would accept you. If your content is appealing to them, they will welcome you. Like I said, I use the youth as an example. You can't compel them to watch GTV. You can't compel them to watch GH1. You can't compel them to watch whatever or the other. They decide. Right. Okay, they decide. Right. And like I said, they'll prefer being on social media. Within a minute, they've seen all the headlines. All the news now breaks on social media before it comes to TV.
Right.
So if within a minute I can, get all the headlines on social media, why would I even tune in?
Okay.
So there must be something interesting for me to tune in.
Thank you. Doc, I hear, and again, I've heard Prof, I've heard the Honorable Minister speak, and I hear what you're saying. What my question, or what I will still push, is that, yes, content is important. Yes, reach is important. During COVID, when we were talking about fellow Ghanaians, reach was important, but the place that the president thought was necessary to reach the whole Ghanaians, irrespective of whether they think people watch here more, was GTV. And so everybody, every evening that the president was supposed to give an update was GTV, whether on TV set or on social media, because now the TV stations have presence on social media, on YouTube, so they get to see it there. So I would ask the same question I ask all of them. Do you think that nothing can be done, or there cannot be a directive like it is in the BBC? There's no way the Exchequer would go and make an announcement on Sky when there is BBC, irrespective of the number of eye views on BBC. Because he believes that once the information is that the Exchequer is making an announcement on BBC, everybody will watch BBC that day. Do you think a directive from wherever it is, whether from the parliament or from government or from Ministry of Information or Communication, not be able to properly put this in perspective?
Well, thank you very much. And I like the way you've been very frank this morning in, sharing the concern. When we say state broadcaster, it means that the state has ownership. And so the state has a role to play in the success of, GTV. Because over the years, like you indicated, that's the station that everybody grew up to know. And so I find it very difficult as well why, GTV's situation is the way it is, like you shared. Because if there's any media organization to protect and to be very resourceful, it should be GBC. Unfortunately, that has not been the case. And this is a failure on the part of, our governance structure over the years. And not only, this government. Like you indicated, we have, programs that are supposed to be, hosted by the state broadcaster. And then it goes to other private organizations. Indeed, the competition is very tough. But so if you are a private organization, you could have invited or attracted some kind of investment from people that will make you resource it. But because you are a state broadcaster, you are restricted. And so there are some programs, indeed, you can't show. In fact, I am talking from the perspective of how business is run. Because if those media organizations that are private, they can determine that even the budget, for instance, they will say that they will show up to some point, they will stop, because maybe they have to advertise on other things as well. But you can't say that. So the state needs to actually, provide resources to support GBC. So I stand and I am very well aligned with your appeal that if nothing at all, let's see the state interest. And then once the state interest is there, then that works perfectly. However, one aspect that I'll talk about in terms of the internal issue is also because the patriotism of the people who also work here. And this is from a very, honest perspective. Because it's a state media, the politics has played so well that I'm very certain that in JBC here, there are two, set of employees here. That is NPP employees and NDC employees. And so depending on which government is in power, and then who has power to determine what. These are things that happen mostly in state organizations. And so you see these kind of things playing a role. And so it plays also a very critical role. But if the people working here also have that patriotic sense that, look, this is a state broadcaster, let me work here and make sure that I make the state broadcaster the best I want it to be, then that is it. Unfortunately, you will soon, if not happening already, losing your staff that you have trained over the years to other private organizations. And you realize that at the end of the day, you are resource constrained and you'll not be able to do certain things that you want to do. Broadcaster itself to be able to do certain things right. Thank you.
Cherished viewers and especially my constituents, Arnenfi Central, I could see that you are very much pained when you were making the submission, and rightly so. I will side with you partially and then agree with my fellow panelists also that we are in a free market economy. So water finds its own level. Like in science, we learn that water finds its own level. So maybe people will go to where they feel that they will have greater viewership and where people will be interested in viewing. However, I also feel that there is a national broadcaster, and as you said, it reaches the whole country. When we were young, Osafo was a brand, and everybody, even in schools, in their houses, people would stand in the windows and watch Osafo. You couldn't do otherwise because it was the only broadcasting station. So I believe that we have to blend the two. You need to brand yourself. Branding is very much important, and you have to have a business strategy. And with this, I think, as you said, the Minister of Finance is a very fine gentleman. I know him personally. I don't think he would try to disown the national broadcaster, the GBC. I believe that. Well, let me hold brief for him because I feel that he will not intentionally neglect GBC. But at the same time, you have to collaborate with him, with the government agencies to rebrand the station, especially like you're saying after this what do we say, budget. You could arrange with the minister, just announce to the whole nation that the minister is going to appear on the GBC or GTV, and let's see, maybe for some days, and catch the attention of the people. And we can use this one to brand the station. So if there is a good collaboration, especially the managing director, he can always approach these government agencies to give priority. I believe that there should be some sort of priority given to the GBC if you really want them to come up. Because now the image is very low, we must admit. Because when I told my friends that I was coming to GTV, then somebody told me that those are the old people's station, and who is going to watch you? I mean, that is the fact. So we need rebranding, because if we let the minister come here, like you're saying, and we advertise that he is coming here as a first stop, I think it will create that awareness and let people watch the station. And that should come from the CEO. The CEO will have to have vision. He has to have a business strategy, and he has to pursue his agenda aggressively. Otherwise, the station will go very low. Because, like you cited an example, this is a football match, because Ghanaians always love their football. Like, if there was a way for you to approach the authorities, whether Sports Council or the whichever authority is in charge, just negotiate with them strongly that the GTV or GBC will be the only station that is going to show that one. That one you can do. And I think the government or the minister should also know that in case of trouble, in case we are in trouble, we will only fall on this national station. Because let's say if there is a, I'm not trying to advocate for this, but if some insurgency comes about in this country, they would want to have that announcement on the GTV. Otherwise, you cannot say that you have control.
Push them to a private media house.
Exactly.
So
yes, if you do that, it will not succeed. Yeah. And in that case also, if the government wants to counter, they will be forced to come to GTV, because that one will be the last stop. So I think there should be a blend.
Thank you.
You should aggressively pursue, and then
last
okay.
line here.
Just in 30 seconds.
Yes. I think it's not too late to get the minister's attention here. Because, you know, if you read the budget, the viewership, the way the information is packaged, right? When you come to GTV, we're looking at people in our, you know, the reach is very far. You need to take your time to break down, primary balance, break down all the, economic indicators, and then give them the signal that this is how they're going to feel, the budget in their homes, So it's not too late. I mean, gone were the days when we were young, we used to watch Talking Point before Akan drama. I mean, tomorrow, Sunday, it's there. I mean, you can engage the minister, come and give us some breakdown on how people are going to feel, the budget at the ordinary level. I mean, you've dealt with, the jargons and all those at the, that level where people will understand. But then we want you to come and give us the ordinary version of the budget. And I think you'll get his attention for that purpose.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you for this. We, in a subtle way, we'll continue to beg for crumbs. Anyway, so I understand that I have on Zoom, I have Michael Boateng join us on Zoom. Michael, good morning, if you can hear me.
Good morning.
I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well, thank you.
Right, thank you. Okay, so Prof, I'll start with you since you just spoke about Talking Point. So I'll start with you. Now, the budget was in two sessions, or the session were in two sections. One to recap what has been achieved in some instances at half year, in some instances as at end of September 2025, and then the second part was to project 2026. So maybe first we'll look at the 2025 performance against actuals, against budget, and then also against projections on the landing for 2027. The minister gave an indication that it is not likely that we would be able to achieve our revenue projections or revenue budget for the year. Our actual, as at the end of September, Q3, was 154 billion, which means that we have a gap of almost about 116 billion to cover in the last quarter. What do you think are the reasons why we were unable to achieve our revenue target or budget for Q3 2025?
Yeah, so there are two things we may have to look at projections. We were coming into 2025 with certain targets. Obviously, you may have to look at the system as Ghana, how, the economic activities, what brings about the various, revenues that we are looking for, taxes here and there, and then also the possible, grant and support that we receive. Clearly, you will appreciate that we have projections that we've made, and projections may not necessarily be exactly the same. You make projections based on a certain fundamentals, and you ask yourself, can we achieve this? You can overproject. You can also underproject. Now, this is a typical transition year, a year that, people may want to steady the economy very well before they go all out. You don't expect that, economic activities will pick up suddenly after, a government takeover. If you are in the space of, government activities, if you are in the space of, the private man, you will definitely take your time before you go all out to do business. And government revenue thrives on how people transact. Talking about revenues from the port, talking about internally how goods and services moves, and government getting its bit of what? Taxes and other things here and there. When the government took over, there was, a sudden drop in, interest rate structures, exchange rates, and all those. Obviously, these are indicators that feed into, Ghana take it all, you may have to study the government very well. And clearly, I believe that these are the things that did not trigger economic activities as expected. It is purely a transition period. If indicators are dropping, every investor, especially when we have economic dynamics where these economic indicators like exchange rate has been heated to 17, per the dollar. And then a new government comes with good measures put in place, the exchange rate drops it came to 14, then we started seeing it and it keeps on dropping, and now we're talking about 10 point something. I mean, it will not be normal to you if you're a human being. Let's not throw out the behavioral dynamics of human thinking when it comes to this, indicators. There's no way, a person will appreciate that this drop. Where is it coming from? I may have to study whether it is out of prudent measures, whether it's out of, should I say, a fluke that, we've had this, these numbers dropping. So that kind of uncertainty in terms of going all out to spend will not be realized in times like this. And I will attribute basically to the reasons why government could not hit the target. Apart from the possibility of over-projection, I mean, we should also give room for some of these possible uncertainties. But going forward, at least for the past 3 months, we've realized that there seems to be, there is a stability. And trust me, the stability is becoming an assurance. And for that one, going into 2026, I think whatever is being projected for, government will realize that.
Thank you. So since you mentioned some sources of the revenue to be taxes, I would want to speak to Michael, my tax expert, on via Zoom. So Michael, now if you check the statement, I'm reading from page 170 of the statement, you notice that for domestic revenue, mainly tax revenue, the budget for Q3 was supposed to be 133 billion. However, government was able to achieve 124 billion, which is about 9 billion below the target. And this is on the back of e-levy. Does this suggest that our tax mobilization approach is not or has not improved within the year? Because we are still...
Very much. I think when you listen to the earlier panelists, okay, my fellow panelists, on our, remember, if you look at a lot of books, and all know situation, there is a element which is dollar. With dollar in our how many would find losses where that is the as was the look was giving too much money. And everybody contributed. The new government has come in, investors and everybody is watching. There's always also has been a rationalization of government expenditure. And all those things, when government spend, business spend, and tax revenue also increases. So those three elements have been one of the key factors that has attributed to the current state. But the one thing that we shouldn't lose sight of, which we are likely to talk about, is the expenditure rationalization. That if we are not reaching our target in terms of the top line, which is the revenue, at least on the bottom line, which is the expenditure, if it's controlled, then I think we would.
Honorable, and this one is not to Honorable KWAKYE-ACKAH. Then the minister indicates that our GDP growth, and he mentioned more on the service sector being the main brain behind the growth. And another service sector, he specifically spoke to technology, banking, and then I think the last one has to do with education, if I'm correct. But if you check the trajectory from the previous administration, service sector seemed to be growing by a 3% averagely every quarter. And so realistically, you are unable to say that something extraordinary happened within this year, causing the service sector to go the way. Being a member of the party currently in government and a former MP, what are some of the things that you think were the policies introduced that improved the contribution of the service sector, as the minister indicated?
Yeah, thank you very much. I believe that this finance minister is not so much interested in taxes. He believes that money should be put into the hands of the people to stimulate growth, because the businesses will have to produce. So I think that is the strategy he's using. You see, he removed the yield levy, like the gentleman is saying. He lost a lot of revenue, but the cascading effect is that the individuals will have the money in their pockets and spend. They will buy the goods which are being produced in the market, and then the businesses will produce more, and then they will in turn pay the taxes to the government. That is indirect taxes. I think he has preferred that one. You see, he removed the withholding tax, betting tax, which was very popular among the youth. And you may think that government is losing revenue. Again, this money goes into the pockets of the individuals, and then it has the effect on the economy. He removed the emission tax also, and businesses were able to take advantage of that. And then VAT on motor vehicles, insurance policy. And that one affected a lot, because I remember I brought a car to the country, and before I went to the US, I asked for the tax that I was going to pay. I was going to pay about 170,000 Ghana cedis. But when I went there, spent some time, by the time I came, the dollar had dropped, and the tax came to about 110. So you could see the effect. Even though he has lost some taxes somewhere, it has got effect on the economy, because business will now grow, importers will now import more, and then it will have cascading effect. If you look at this, it has direct effect on the fuel prices. Previously, our economy has been based on the price of, to control these things. The dollar rate was 17. Now it dropped to about 10.9. And fuel price was about 14. Now it's about 11. And the inflation is dropped from 23.5% to 8%. All these effects will cascade into the pockets of the individual. What I hear people saying frequently on the market is that the gains that the fuel prices, the dollar reduction in the strength, and the inflation is not reflected on the price of goods in the market, which sometimes I beg to differ. some of the prices have come down. Like I told you, this duty on the car has dropped. But if we expect the price on the market to go down, in economics, that's what we call deflation. And I think a prof will let us know that is also a very dangerous trend. If we have deflation because of drop in prices, it's not going to augur well for the economy. So if we say inflation has dropped, that is the rate of increase of prices on the market has steadied. And that is also good for the economy. But if we expect the prices now to go down, because like he said, businessmen are watching, because you can't go and buy something like maybe you change the dollar at 14, now the dollar has dropped to 11, then suddenly you reduce your price. People are watching. And if you do that, all prices become very low, then we have the deflation and it will crash the economy. So I believe that the citizens, I heard an interview from the market, and people were talking about prices, even though you could see their face that they were not worried, because they could see the good feelings in the economy. There's no tension in the economy, there's no worry in the economy, but they were saying that prices should come down to commensurate with the decrease in the dollar. But I think that the economists should explain to the public that no, deflation is also as dangerous as inflation, and that if we can have the prices steady like this, and we can bring that inflation to about maybe 5%, that will be better for the economy. Right. Yes. So we have had this a single-digit inflation after a very long time, and exports have shot up. Export earnings have gone to 11.5%.
On export, I'll come back on a question, because I compared what he said with the data from the Bank of Ghana, their summary of economic and financial data for the year. And it looks like the story being told doesn't show that there's been something extraordinary. It looks like it's a trend. So we'll look at that data also to
conclude with this.
Right.
Because I could hear the former finance minister. He was just belittling what has been gained, and I think it was not fair. And somewhere he said that the drop in the dollar strength is superficial. It's not going to be sustained. And at the same time, he also said that this was as a result of their policies that they put in place. So if you put some policies in place and the dollar has dropped, again you are saying that it is not sustainable.
Maybe their policies were superficial. That's what he means.
Maybe that is right. But because if you claim the credit, and now again you are saying that the decision is not sustainable. You say the gold price will drop. In case gold price drops, then we cannot sustain it. I think it's not. They should go back and remind ourselves of what the internationally acclaimed economist said, Dr. Baumia. He said those days that you can do all the propaganda you want, but if the fundamentals are weak.
No, but I see this morning you've wore your political hat. Let me go to Dr. Peter.
So now, what are they saying about the drop in the?
No, I'll give you time to do politics.
Okay, all right.
Now let's Doc. Now, if you check again, I'm standing on the GDP growth. If you check industry under the services in June 2024, industry grew by 12.2. As at the end of December 2024, and this I'm using the summary of economic, industry grew by 12.2% half year 2024, but half year 2025, industry is at 2.3. And admittedly, the minister indicated that industry has not seen the kind of growth that it expected. What do you think are some of the reasons why industry is performing the way it is? If we are saying that interest rates on loans are going down and all that, how is it not reflecting in industries being able to get credit to boost production?
Thank you very much. I mean, if you look at it critically, I mean, the real work takes place on the ground. I mean, the real economy. So if you are in a particular industry where access to market is a challenge, and then you are competing with influx of product from other, countries through unsecured borders, competing with what is done locally, certainly volumes will be impacted. And that is one key area that we have to, concentrate on, which will even help us to boost the tax revenue that we are talking about. Because one of the areas that we have not been able to tap very well is corporate income tax. Of course, because if the institutions are making losses, how would they pay tax? I've heard that the minister want to deploy AI to be able to assist in closing the gaps at the port, to be able to, help the local economy in terms of local manufacturers. What is key here is that because most of raw materials that are used are imported, you see that we are not adding value to the materials that we're supposed to. And so most of the time you see importing it into the country. Because of that, we have certain products that the finished goods are imported more. So for instance, you look at vegetable oil, for instance, and you see that even though we have some companies that produce vegetable oil in this country, you have a lot of it being imported. And so if you have a lot of it being imported, definitely, if you are looking at the growth trajectory, you will not see it being vertical. You will see it either being horizontal or even, declining. And that is what we are seeing now. And so if government pays attention, just like the audit that was done in the export, in terms of payment outside, where they were saying that when they look at payment that went out for import, they realized that there has been huge gap where most monies were paid out for import. Exactly. And then it didn't come as expected. If you are talking about 500,000 plus and you say just about 10,000 were detected, then it means that is huge. And so that then the question, what is happening? It's because the economy is dependent on import. And once the economy is dependent on import, that is where people will always find gap to always do these things. And that is what we are seeing. So if you see the industry not growing the way it's expected to grow, what are the industries doing that can compete very well? You see, we have a population of 30 million. If you have a population of 30 million, we shouldn't forget that no economy will grow with its own industry when you are only producing what will feed your country or your population alone, unless you export. That's why you see that the other advanced economies, the reason why they are advancing is because they produce and export to other countries. They cannot produce and feed themselves alone and think that they will grow. So until we also deliberately do that, then we cannot see our industry growing as we want. And so I'm happy certain measures like banning, share, rubber, the government is talking about that. But don't forget, if you ban the exportation of share or cashew or rubber, and you don't have factories to produce, to add value to it. If you ban the exportation of palm oil, for instance, and then you don't have enough, infrastructure to add value to what you produce, what is it? If you say you are banning cocoa, for instance, that one we can't, but cocoa, for instance, and you don't have an empty organization or a factory that will be able to add value to all that we have, then you realize that the ban in itself is going to be a major challenge for our industry, because you are going to tell people to smuggle it out. Because if it remains, who is going to buy? What is it going to be used for? So I'm hoping that the infrastructure that needs to be put in place to ensure that our industry grow will be, and this requires deliberate government intervention to enable it happen.
Okay. Honorable FOKUO, so being a former banker, today you are doing a lot of chipping.
Yes, it's very, very important. You know, we need to ask ourselves what drives the industry growth. I mean, there are several industrial sectors in the country. I could see that previously, the drive of our industry was mainly oil. We need to ask ourselves, for the past 2 years, what have we done as far as oil investment is concerned? Basically, you hear news of litigation on, all the major oil investors who comes to this country. So you should expect.
Even the ones we have are depleting. If you check our oil exports, it's dropping.
These are things that we should, look at. I mean, the breakdown of the industry sector and then the main drivers. And, obviously you realize that, and the minister said it clearly. He said industry did not grow that much because of oil input. It's clear.
Right. Okay. So, Honorable FOKUO, as a former banker, I mean, they say once a banker, always a banker. The minister, in mentioning the services, mentioned that the banks are doing well mainly because of capital injection. And I know one of the places that the major capital injection was done was NIB, which I know you formerly worked there. I am not too sure if you can, if you've been paying attention, but what transformation has happened to the balance sheet and the P&L of NIB post this injection to suggest that the growth happening in that sector is as a result of the capital injection into the financial sector?
All right. Thank you. I mean, I will get to the financial services sector, but I think your first point was on why revenue targets have not been met, And what I would say is, you see, you can't set certain targets and expect that, Providence will take you there to meet those targets, okay? You have to do the hard work to be able to achieve those targets. And if you don't do the hard work, don't expect to achieve those targets, okay? If you are a government that is competing tightly with the private sector via the securities market, scooping all the liquidity out, crowding out the private sector, how do you expect the private sector to grow? Because for you to meet your revenue target, industries have to do well for you to be able to tax them. So if you are not boosting, intentionally supporting industry, how do you tax them? That is why we see what we are seeing. So the growth that we are seeing, you know where it's coming from. Like you said, the services sector. The services sector is such a way that, it's one sector that is based on the basic needs of people. So even if you don't do much, it tends to go at a certain level. So where you really need to tweak is the construction, the manufacturing. These areas, you have to intentionally boost their production. And what are we seeing in these areas? We're not seeing growth. So it tells you we are not intentionally boosting production. And if you are not intentionally boosting production, it goes a long way to cement the point that is obvious to everyone in this country, that the finance minister is actually not spending. We approved the budget for this year. Ask yourself, the total budget that was approved, how much has been utilized? It's just barely around 53% thereabout. He's not spending the money that was even approved for him to spend, especially in the areas where this government touted itself so much about doing infrastructural work, the big push. So you ask yourself, that area, the CAPEX budget, how much has been spent? Okay? Out of the 1.5% of GDP, we have spent barely 0.5%. So he's not spending in the areas that will boost production for this country. And this is key for Ghanaians to know. You can't expect things to happen, like I said, by providence.
But
no.
Honorable, you would admit that in basic economics and accounting, you can't spend what you don't have. If revenue as projected is not coming the way you want it to be, you would have to manage your expense. It's the basics in management.
What I'm saying is you have to boost that. I was careful in my beginning. I said you can't set targets and expect providence to take you there. So you said that on what basis was the target set, the revenue target set? Of course, you must have done your calculations based on which you set a target. What did you do to achieve those targets? What investments did the government make in certain key sectors to expect, production to support you to reach your targets, revenue targets. Because if your revenue targets basically is coming from taxes, if sectors are not doing well, key sectors like manufacturing, construction, if these are not, because these areas employ a lot of people. If you pay contractors, they are going to employ a lot of people. Construction, manufacturing, these are the engines for the country's growth. Okay, like I said, services is you have no choice. You will use the services. So if you look at the growth that we are seeing, it's just coming from the services, the manufacturing, the construction. We are not seeing much from there, and it aligns to the fact that the minister is not actually spending. It goes hand in hand. If you don't spend, don't expect to get the revenue. Okay, so, and I'll make just a point about what, because he said, the budget that was read, of course, he started from the point of performance, that of course, that has been the trend, that the previous administration left toward an economy that was in tatters, and we have come to stabilize it. And we talk about the CD that has been stable, and of course, inflation. But I tell you, when the NPP left office, and I'm giving figures, this is not politics, the NPP left office with GDP growth of 5.7%. Okay, we had, come out of COVID, which hit the country hard. We needed to boost the economy back, revamp the economy, and that is why we went for, a bit of...
so just for clarity, I'm looking at the BOG document. It says that GDP growth as at end of December for including oil was 5.2, and then excluding oil was 6.1. I'm quoting for information. Just
we can check sources. We can check sources. It's 5.7. This is official. Okay, this is official. 5.7. You can.
When you say official, what is the source?
You can check.
No, I'm checking because I'm using the Bank of Ghana data. So that's why I'm saying that.
Check from even reports from the ministry. Okay. Ministry of Finance.
So I'll get my team to check.
You can check 5.7.
But it's around the region.
But so, even 5.3 and 5.7, you can take 5.3, but 5.7 is official. Okay, this was left. This is what was handed over. So you can't belittle an economy that was growing at 5.7. Okay, we handed over an economy at that time that all these debts that people talk about had been restructured as of October 2024. That gave the fiscal space. Okay, so all these were handed over. An economy that was in a calm mode was handed over. Handing it over, then you start from January taking over. Now you're claiming you've stabilized CD, you've brought inflation down. These were on the basis of what was handed over. And let me come to the CD. The CD now that we see stability, let's ask ourselves, is there anything structural that has been done for the past 10 months that has supported the CD? The answer is no. Yes, we have benefited from commodities that have done well. Gold has done well. Cocoa has done well. That is why our reserves is now close. What has the government got to do with this? Zero. Okay? The fact that the government is not spending, the minister is not spending, calling it fiscal discipline. My friend, this is rationing. It's not fiscal discipline. If you decide to hold on and not pay contractors and so on, how do you boost the economy to grow in a sustaining way? It's just rationing, and that does not support, sustainable growth. Right. Of course, once you have the CD in check based on the fact that you are not spending, based on the fact that our commodities are doing well, of course, because we import a lot, this will impact on inflation. Okay, so if you look at these in totality for the 10 months, the government cannot put its finger on anything that it can say, because I'm in power, I have done A, B, C. I've told you, we handed over an economy that was in calm mode. We had come out of the turbulence during the COVID era. We've handed this economy in calm mode. You've come, commodities are doing well. You are not spending. And as we said, revenue shortage is obvious because you are not spending in the productive sector.
I'll come back to you too.
On a whole, we shouldn't be clapping for ourselves.
I'll come back to you.
This would have happened anyway.
I'd move to Prof. Then after Prof, I would go back online to Michael. Prof, I know you want to respond to some of the things he said, but in doing that, I also want you to respond to this specific question. Again, I'm looking at the Bank of Ghana data. Now, if you look at the monetary policy rate, as at the end of August 2024, it was at 29%. As at end of August 2025, it's at 25%. Now, if you look at the average lending rate for four banks, as at end of August 2024, it was at 30.79%. As at end of August 2025, it's at 24.15%. So clearly, the lending rate for banks have gone down. However, you notice that if you check the report for the assets growth of bank, or even if you want to pay attention to the CAR for bank, the capital adequacy ratio, banks are still holding a lot of money. Averagely, it's 18.3, way above the post forbearance, regulatory forbearance limit. Does this not suggest that even with these interest rates, banks are still not comfortable lending, or businesses are not going to banks for money, so banks are still holding on to a lot of money, explaining the reason why the growth in the industry and other similar sectors is not as expected? Maybe you can respond to him and then in the same way do this.
Yes, so I think we may have to look at where Honorable is coming from, which has to do with the structural change of the economy to support the stability in exchange rate. If you have an economy that was running exchange rate of about 17.4 to the dollar, and then suddenly there's a change in government, about
at the time when there was a change in government, it was 14.
14, yes, fine. So 14. You don't expect that within 10 months, the economy can be restructured to support the exchange rate. You need an investment. You need to look at your import bill and ask yourself, what are the key areas that is draining, the country's forest reserves? So talking about maybe if it's poultry imports, it could also be, importation of oil. Then you ask yourself that, look, as a finance minister, what are the way forward to ensure that the gains that are being sustained as a result of, the short-term measures like the gold board and all the, possible interventions that the finance minister is doing, what is the long-term measures that can be put in place? So if you clearly go into the budget, right, going into 2026, I mean, all the things that have been, laid down clearly tells you that government is looking at long-term measures to ensure that the stability that we've enjoyed, the gains that we've made as far as exchange rate is concerned, as far as interest rate structures, is concerned, as far as, inflation is concerned, we control it whilst we spur upward growth. Now, talking about Nkoko, poultry alone, the quantum of dollars that we use in importing poultry, there's a target in the budget that says that by 2026, and then a certain percentage of our poultry import must come domestically. Giving instructions for consumption at the secondary school level to come from the domestic market, all in itself as the structures that the government is looking at to ensure that the gains that we've made as a result of the short-term measures using dollar reserves to control, and of course, dollar reserves, every country that has enough dollar reserves enjoys stability in exchange rate. So if you look at it carefully, you cannot use 10 months to restructure the economy to keep your exchange rate. You need long-term measures, and clearly the budget, position itself as such. On the heels of the policy rate, and then the rates that are coming down, you should expect that. And when you talk about, pricing of loans in this country, we call something GRR, Ghana Reference Rate. Within this rate are the treasury bills, the policy rate, And all these indicators are coming down, and they are linear. I mean, as they come down, you should expect that, so loan prices definitely will come down. But then you need to ask yourself, the banks, I mean, they are intellectuals that are working there. We've seen trends of interest rates of about 35%, 40% before. And just within a year, interest rate has dropped to 24%. You need to be very certain. The bank's money is not their money. The bank's money belongs to people. Banks play just an intermediary role by taking people's money and giving it out. The risk management component of banking is very, very key. There's no way a bank will react to a market by going all out, giving all loans, right? When you have within a year interest rate dropping, they may have to be certain, especially when consistently for about 7 years, 8 years, we've seen, interest rate always going up. You need some time to build confidence, to say that, okay, fine, I'm holding up this capital. I may have to channel some into loans, right? Because, this is how the trend has been. So risk management is very, very important. So if the banks are holding capital, it's not their fault in doing that. They need to study the market. They need to make sure that there's consistency in the indicators. The exposures are very low before they go all out.
You're saying that if the trend continues next year, it gives a bit of confidence, then
definitely
they will react.
See the response
Okay.
from the market.
Probably, Michael, online. So, Michael, we know that Ghana's economy is we keep saying that it's SME driven. What it means is that these SMEs are the ones who would be assessing the loans from banks to be able to boost their stock and then be able to make more sales. Like Prof explained, he's looked at it from one angle, which is the banks holding on to it. I'm looking at it also from the other angle where SMEs are unable to go for these loans because probably their stock and their goods are not selling out as expected. And as Honorable indicated, if contractors and the rest are not being paid, in the statement, the minister indicated that I think about 58 million or billion, if I'm correct, is old contractors, which I think it was 68 and has been done the validation and it's now 58. With 8, because government is not spending, the SME sector is also not growing as expected. And so they are also not going to the banks for loans as would be the case.
Thank you very much. I think you take a step back and look at almost all the points that have been raised by various panelists. They can give the increasing performance. So that the work of the over 8%. Saying that the government is the best and positive businesses will have money, you and I will have capacity to buy goods and services. change the economy. Not if you look at the IMF report and what even when they I'm looking at the IMF report, three key things that were actually one of them sort of macro indicators. You look at when the IMF what your expenditure, your macro is sustainable. It's also the aspect of sustainability where you have this. So it's not as of now we are seeing a rationalization of the contribution of expenditure because the nature of restoration macroeconomic conditions. We are seeing the macro the time and development. This the development and that's all this go out to go higher which is just do this how much almost at I that free space along and for me for take off. This the next humanity I mean that represents the same sort as of now. But this is the that we cannot because of where we come from. I think we need to go through that to take off to another level of expenditure that we all expect to actually positively affect us. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me come back to Dr. TERKPER before we go into the 2026 projections. So, Doc, and probably this will be a question which would help us go into the 2026. Now, we keep hearing tax, revenue. One of the places that we have found it difficult as a nation to be able to find ways to make some income is the payment systems economy, the digital economy. If you check page 15 of the report, the BOG report on payment systems data, it says that the total number of transactions on mobile money as at August 2025, total number of transactions was 831 million. So that's the number of transactions. The value of these transactions was 354 billion Ghana cedis, mobile money. These are the transactions going on there. These are people sending money to other people. These are people who do business. Somebody has to make payment through this platform for them. These are areas where income that the state can make to improve on its revenue is possibly being missed. The e-levy was, in a way, being able to get some amount from here, but now it's taking off. In the new, the 2026, the policy directives and everything, did the minister give an indication on how we intend to go into this new economic arena so that we can be able to get some revenue to show up our revenue capital?
Thank you very much. In fact, the digital space is very broad. And if you look at the MOMO aspect, for instance, that is where normally the focus is. But there is more to it than just the transfer of the funds, because the MOMO system is just movement of money. The same way People go to bank to deposit money, to withdraw money, to use it for transaction. That is what is happening. So if people go and deposit their money at the banks and they are not taxed, then definitely it is also not good to tax people who use the MOMO system. However, the other aspect which I am certain that government is working on that, and I agree with government, is those who do business online and make payment. Yes, so if you go to a particular shop and you buy and then you are charged VAT, definitely if somebody is also trading online, government should find a way of also applying the same, so that it then translates into fairness in terms of those who are doing it online, those who are doing it at the malls that we see as well. So because the digital space is huge, that's where government can leverage on to mobilize enough revenue, not the MOMO transactions where people go and deposit money, people transfer money. Because if you do that, you are discouraging the digitalization of cashless system, because we all know the impact. And you see, the global economy is heading towards a certain direction. I'm doing a research on neo-banking. Neo-banking is basically branchless banking, where you don't see mortar, where you go and say you want to do transactions. That's where the world is heading towards. So people will get to a stage where you will not have the comfort of going to a bank, going queue to say you want. Because if you look at what Momo has taught us, then there's a lot government can do to secure that space to make sure that enough revenue is generated. So that aspect, I agree. Momo will continue to grow because of the comfort it brings to people moving about, taking transport to go and do certain transactions, when you can sit at home 24 hours and then you can do the same transaction. And so it is a space that government can take advantage of. But the advantage should be on the business aspect, the trade aspect, and not the transaction, because you want to you want to ensure financial inclusion as well. And so once you are doing that, then you see how then do we translate this into gains, so that people will do more transaction through this process other than the cash transaction. Because one of the easiest way of even corruption is the cash transaction that we see a lot of. So some people will prefer to do business with cash rather than using the digital space. So if government does that, then it's going to help to solve a major problem in terms of tax revenue. And so I agree with government to go to that tangent in terms of those who do trade or business online, and not those who transfer money from their wallet either to bank or from bank, or to make payment that you say because you have Momo wallet, you have money in your wallet and you are doing transaction, I'm going to tax you for that, which is certainly not good. I'm transferring money to somebody and say you are taxing me. So it's good government has removed that tax, but let's look at the transaction aspect and see how we can take advantage of that.
Okay. So, Honorable, on the tax reforms, the minister announced, and I'm sure the people of Manso Nkwanta will be happy, that COVID levy finally has been will be abolished in 2026. I'm sure the hotels, the hospitality industry in your constituency will be happy with the VAT reforms, where now the decoupling of the NHIL and the who were making turnovers of, let's say, 200,000 or were expected to be VAT registered now to 750,000. Clearly, you should be happy. Clearly, you should commend the government for this, because it's going to bring relief to your people in your constituency. No?
I mean, who would not be happy to have more disposable income in his pocket? That's fine. But you see, when you're running a country, you don't have to look at it from the perspective of, let's say, an individual home or a small unit or space. Okay, you should look at it from the perspective of a country in totality. You are managing, a country. So if you are coming up with any tax reform, it shouldn't come in isolation. Like you're just coming up with a tax program. No, it should come with a strategy. Okay, it should come with a strategy, and that strategy should be in itself, all and comparison to be able to have the effect that you really want. So these VAT reforms that we've been, informed about, these other tax reforms, the expectation is that it comes with, strategies on their own to be able to have income in the pockets of people. What is your strategy for that? Okay, whenever you are, reducing taxes, the plan, the expectation is that you are reducing it to be able to revamp an economy. Because it's like being in a recession. When you go into recession, the strategy is not like now yes, it's good to have fiscal discipline and all that. But when you are really down there, you need to revamp the economy. And that is where you have this fiscal expansion, okay, to boost the economy back. So if you are going to give these, tax reliefs and all that, it should come with strategies. And that strategy, the intent, is supposed to boost the economy in totality. It's supposed to change or improve the business performance of those, especially the small businesses that you're trying to impact with these tax strategies. Okay, so that is what is lacking in these, tax reforms that we've heard about. These pronouncements that have been made, they've been made in isolation, and it's never done that way. You come up with tax reforms, they go with strategies that will boost the entire economy, and we are not seeing it that way. So, in isolation, the impact is going to be so minimal. I'm telling you, the impact is going to be so minimal. So, yes, VAT reforms, like say, we've raised the threshold. Yes, so certain small businesses would not be impacted and all that. But in the long run, what is the strategy? What is the strategy around that? And for me, that is what is important. As for, reducing taxes, and then you ask yourself, really, the way we handle tax policies, or we come up with tax policies in this country, honestly, you wonder if we just come up to, we come out because we want to make statements to be popular, okay? Because you make certain statements on taxes years ahead of actually when you are implementing. By the time you are implementing, the economic situation might have changed. And you see, you use taxes to achieve certain objectives. It's not just to be popular. If an economy is doing so well, as now people are claiming the economy is doing so well. Whatever it is. I gave the basis why I think is what we see now. If an economy is doing well, so-called, you ask yourself, is it time to hold on to the taxes you have, or is time to really give reliefs? Ask yourself, because the cycles should actually guide you in coming up with tax policies. So, the economists I don't want to, because whatever you say, people will take you out of context. But if your economy is heating up, is growing well, as is being claimed, is it time for such, tax policies? Or it should rather be the other way around? These should be timed well. Otherwise, you will go in just to be popular. You will go in without a backing strategy, and you have no effect. And for me, I think that should be taken seriously. Every time we are going with a tax policy, if we made a pronouncement years ahead, and at the time that we are in power or people expect us to act, if the economic situations have changed, we should be bold to say that now things have changed. The time that we made these pronouncements, that will give these rebates, that we will give these reliefs, the economy was growing at this level. Our expectations didn't turn out the way we anticipated. Things have changed. So now these might not make much sense at the time that we proposed them. And like I said, they should come with strategies. So that is it on the taxes. The issue about you spoke about interest rates coming down and not seeing much lending in the economy.
It's coming down. The capital adequacy ratio is growing.
That's what I'm saying.
Even the NPL is also worsening.
That's what I'm saying. Because I mean, yes, interest rates have come down. They are not lending. That's why the capital adequacy ratio is high. When it's high, it means you are not lending. But I mean, then probably that sort of addresses one of the concerns that I raised earlier on, that what is happening is not structural. That is why people are having this, are being cautious of whatever they are doing. Okay, if people believe that whatever we are seeing now was as a result of some structural changes that will be sustained, why wouldn't they go all out? Why won't financial institutions just go out to lend? They are being cautious because they don't really have their hands on something that they believe could be guaranteed to be sustained. So that is cautious optimism. Okay, so I think that is, I mean, a cup of tea that we should consider. But I'm landing. If you also check on even this the stock exchange, check it. After the reading, it will reflect. But check the stock exchange, the composite. It has rather gone down marginally. Not so much, but it has gone down. So it tells you the cautious optimism. People are really watching as to what is going to happen, because they know the CD, whatever that we are seeing, if the gold price went down now, we will fall flat. If cocoa price went down now, we will fall flat. So we need to go out and do things in a structural way that will be sustaining, and that is what will give confidence to people to come out.
So, Honorable KWAKYE-ACKAH, right after then I'll go to Prof. The Honorable FOKUO made some critical points. And again, if you look at the infographics that would be shown on the screen, the reforms that have been done, it looks like a lot that was supposed to be gotten from the domestic tax bracket is being let go, is concerned. The minister says that for 2026, its tax revenue target is 223 billion. 223 billion. And it's even actually indicative. That's what he intends to end the year with. Now, if one of the key sources of getting this money, which is the COVID-19 levy, is being taken out, and like Honorable FOKUO said, did you hear any structural reforms or strategies the government intends to use to be able to show up more revenue, to be able to make up for this, the loss that will be made from the removal of the COVID-19?
Very good, my good friend. I think if you listen to the pessimism of our good friend FOKUO, it's rather discouraging. But let us face it, this finance minister or the government instituted this tax regime to reduce taxes. And what did we see? We saw public debt dropped to its lowest level in a decade. That's from 69% to 45%. Debt to GDP ratio, which is very, very key in an economy, also dropped from 61.8% to 45.4%. So these are initial stages. We had an economy which was rated as junk, okay? And all these indicators were haywire. And this man came in and had to stabilize these things, make sure that these indices are correct. Then you can take off. Because if these things were cooked, I don't think you will have all these indicators just leveling off. It means they are doing something good. So now, there are so many things that this new budget is going to help boost it, because it says you are not spending the economy. If you don't have the money, why do you spend? Because your debt to GDP ratio was about 60-something%. You use all your money to pay debt. And now, if you don't stabilize that, how are you going to spend? And so, luckily enough, this thing has been taken care of, and it has dropped to 45%. So the next stage is to maintain the stability so that you can have enough money to be able to tackle the other areas. And I heard a minister, he put a lot of structures in place. He said now he's going to take out the COVID-19 levy. See, sometimes we feel that we have to take the money directly from the people. I don't believe so. I mean, in effect, if you free up the money into the hands of the people, the money will come back. I saw the businesses, they are going to have about 5.7 billion. If you take out some taxes, the taxes that we are going to take, this levy of obnoxious levies, if you take it out, you are going to free money to businesses. And these businesses will use that money to invest. So if they invest more money, people, if they invest, more taxes will come. Because people will buy their goods, or they will employ workers, and the workers will pay taxes. And so it will compensate for that. So we should not look only at the taxation, direct taxes. That is what kills our economy. We have tried this for several years. It doesn't work. When NPP was in power, every time there were new taxes, they were finding ways and means to take money from the people. You look at this water, look at this. Huh? What is this? You just put these things on the water to take money from me. It is not fair. And they thought that was going to help the economy. Rather, it degenerated into junk states. Now with these stretches, the economy has been rated B- and sometimes C, which is a good indicator. So what is he going to do? Now with the freeing up of capital, with money, he is now going to use it for the big push. Big push, we are going to create jobs in the people. If you are going to construct roads, many people will be employed. He said he's going to expand the oil field, the oil and the gas. They are going to invest in there. And that one is going to create jobs, and that one is going to help in the economy. And you are going to construct 1,200 megawatts of state-owned power station to boost industry. That is gas plant, which is going to help a lot. And if you are going to industrialize, because we are talking about industrialization, like Kwame Nkrumah thought of it in the 60s. He said if we are going to industrialize, we have to put up this 1,200 megawatts, which is even higher than the Akoso, I think 96 megawatts or so. So if you invest, you have money, excess money to invest in these things, definitely the windfall is coming to help the economy. This is better than directly taking the money from the people. Look, power. One regime was saying that we had excess power. And as an engineer, I loved that. How can you complain that you have excess power in the system? Because somebody has brought in Ameri and Cal Power, and we have got excess power. And even there, we could not manage, and we could not sustain the electricity. And the blame was that there's too much power. Why don't you use it? Because power is money. If even you extend the power to the villages, you are going to take the money back. It is not a waste. So if we are going to industrialize, if we are going to help the industry, small industry to grow, cheap power must be installed, and that the government is going to do that. So if you are, even though you are not going to take taxes from the people, you are going to reduce taxes. If you are able to invest in this one, it is rather going to increase the investment in other industries, and that one will in turn pay taxes, and that one in turn will employ people, and the people will pay taxes. I believe this is the best economy that we have to support, because if always we sit down and then we want to tax, we have to find ways and means, like the previous finance minister. His only way was to find ways of taxing. Then you go and borrow. You borrow and then spend. And that is what we had ourselves in this conundrum. We could not find a way out of this debt. And now this government has come and they want to do this. I think it is the best decision. If they can go about it, now they are going to invest in hospitals, new hospitals. And luckily enough, they are going to continue their Agenda 111. They want to build a complete 10 of them and build 6 new regional hospitals for the new regions. And they are going to invest in the 24-hour economy. So if you do all these things, I believe that there's no need to tax the people too much. Right. The best thing is to make sure that gradually we reduce the burden on the people, the taxes, the direct taxes. Then we invest in these industries, and what is going to bring back the money.
On my screen are some of the reforms. The abolition of the VAT or mineral exploration, revive the investor confidence. They believe that there will be a stimulation of the green food exploration, promote responsible mining, protect forest and water bodies, ensure long-term sustainability of the mining sector. Maybe I'll take the last view of Prof and then Doctor so that I can move to the next topic. But Prof, I was going to ask a question on this tax, but Honorable KWAKYE-ACKAH actually has given me an indication. If you compare the budget line for 2025 and that for 2026, on personal tax, you notice that it's a bit flat, but like he rightly said, for company tax, the budget seems to have grown. The budget for company tax in 2025 was 45 million. And I think the budget for company tax in 2026 is 52, which indicates that the minister is expecting some 7 billion growth, which Honorable KWAKYE-ACKAH is saying that would possibly be from when all these monies are invested into businesses and companies. Now the companies now would grow in production and be able to pay more. But realistically, and again I hear him, but realistically, did the minister give real structural and strategies to want to move our domestic revenue in terms of tax revenue so that we'll be able to bridge that gap that would be caused by the COVID removal, the VAT rationalization and all those things? Were they, if anybody should ask you, what are the 3-4 things he said he's going to do that will result in it?
Right. So, I mean, clearly, deferment of taxes or, I mean, giving up taxes does not necessarily mean that government is losing completely. There are two ways. As a government, you can immediately decide to tax the people and then make money available and then not use it wisely. If you look at the budget and then the style of the current finance minister, clearly he places emphasis on prudent spending. Prudent spending. So in the budget, you heard of value for money, audit agency, and all those that he mentioned. You also appreciate that, I mean, all the indicators are down. Now it's time to go for growth. But whilst we're going for growth, we shouldn't lose guard and then also forget where we are coming from. So if you decide as a finance minister or in the budget decide to, I mean, relinquish some taxes, one way or the other, you are more or less going to spur up consumption. Because disposable income, right, in people's pocket is going to grow. You want to spur up what? Grow, you want to grow economy. For the first time, and let me emphasize on this, that labor is going to enjoy 9% increase in salaries across board. And this 9% increase is going to help them get real value for their money in the people's pocket. Gone were the days you go for negotiations, you are given 15% salary increase, but then inflation will be around 54%. What is the essence of the increase? So if you look at the style of the current finance minister, relying on the levels of, the indicators that we have, he wants to put money in people's pocket, improve on disposable income, and then that would trigger consumption. Now, if this triggers consumption, where would the goods that will be consumed be coming from? From the industry, from importations. And as a result of that, government gets the taxes that they deferred back. So there is a strategy. I mean, it's a perspective, the way you look at it. You either take the money now and not to spend it, wisely, or you allow the people to have the money, let the money that they have boost consumption in the system. And then over time, once consumption is going, businesses are running on all those, you start getting your taxes back. And that is going to be horizontal. In that regard, you are not going to increase taxes because consumption are going to increase horizontally. So you don't have to keep on moving taxes up here and there. And that in itself scares off, investors. I always talk about tax policies inconsistencies. Scaring of what? Investors. Because every investor wants to operate in an environment of certainty, in an environment where he's sure of his, after-tax profit. And as a result of that, if you keep on moving, taxes here and there, main budget reading November for the next year, you will see a particular budget tax level. In the review, either that tax is revised or you're going to see an introduction of a new one. These are all things that scares off people. Effectively, there is a strategy. And then also, if you look at the budget carefully, our debt service has reduced. There's savings in there. Together with, possible control in unnecessary spending and blocking leakages, right? We should be able to make savings for, government spending. So the style of...
I wish I can have you next week so we can continue this more.
I'll be happy to be here.
Right, I'll speak to my producer to have you because there's more to discuss.
That is fine.
Yes. We need to... And in fact, there's one thing that I also noticed, maybe you would have to look at it. In the expenditure for 2025, you notice that wages and salaries is projected to increase in the last quarter, but for social security contributions to stay flat. It doesn't add up, so maybe we would have to look at it because once wages is going up, automatically state contribution should go up, right? So, Dr. Before you take leave of us, I'll just take your view on this. What's your general expectation of the economy as we are supposed to have this discussion with you at the end of December 2026? What do you expect to see?
I want to see the current stability that we are currently having now, because what is important for every economy is to have a very stable system where people can plan very well. And that is very key. Even if the macros, the indicators are elevated at a certain level and is stable, it helps to plan very well. But there's something that the finance minister is doing that it's worth commending. In fact, I see the finance minister managing the country as a typical business organization, where he's looking at what is happening, and then as a result, he's taking calculated decisions strategically in order to manage the situation. It's not like, one of the challenges in previous governments in the past is that because government had a space to borrow, anytime they see a gap in revenue or revenue declining, they just go and say, let's borrow to close the gap. But what is happening currently is that because revenue is declining or decline, quickly he has to recalibrate his expenditure. And this is how a typical organization is run. And that is the best way. So you see that even at the treasury bill market, they go and want to borrow. And even when they are undersubscribed, he doesn't even take all. He takes what he wants to use. In the past, if there's oversubscription, money has come, they will take all. But now, even under subscription, he's still taking less what you want. Right. This is how the economy is managed. For the first time in several years, we have not gone to the Eurobond market. Cocoa money has been truncated about. Look at the reserves we're having now. It's unprecedented. We have generated reserves whilst we've not even gone to the Eurobond market. So it tells us that there is something. And I'm happy the way they are building the reserve, because you see, when you build reserves, that is one of the reasons why we are seeing the stability. When people see your reserves low, they realize that because the economy is dependent on import, then there's high speculation on the currency. So next month or tomorrow, if I need USD, will I get it? So the demand is high. But when people see, your reserves elevated at a certain level, it gives confidence. People relax. People don't rush to say we are going to. That's why we see what we are seeing. And so I want the finance minister to continue what he's doing. If we say they are not spending, I will not say they are not spending, because if government is not spending, how do we run an economy? Government is what will salary. Government is spending. The only thing is that what is good is that government is being careful in the way it spends. It's not releasing money to contractors because contract has been approved, so you want to make sure that there's audit, job is completed, there's validation, and then before we go out and pay, and you don't go and pay them in excess. So these are some of the things that are happening in the economy that is giving us stability. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Viewers, thank you for the time. Dr. TERKPER and Prof would have to take leave of us, discuss the issues on the military recruitment. Prof and Doc, thank you very much. Prof has promised to be here again. So, Prof, I'm seeing it on national television. Yes, to the military recruitment. Also, Doc Michael BOATENG on Zoom. Doc, thank you very much for your contribution. We really appreciate it. We'll call on you next time so that we can get more in-depth analysis and discussions from you. Thank you very much. Viewers, we'll be right back after this break.
Current Agenda is brought to you by Bank of Africa, the African Band, National Petroleum Authority, NPA, where customer care meets excellence.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
On your screen, young men from across the length and breadth of the country, young men who are seeking, should we call it, better livelihood, sitting on the ground, hoping that by the end of this exercise, a percentage of them will be recruited and taken through a period of training and be able to start earning income for themselves to go off, majority of them go off their parents' spending so that they can be independent. These are our junior brothers. For some, also these are your children. For some, these are your grandchildren. Our cousins, our nephews, our nieces, who have woke up early in the morning, left their homes to go seek an economic improvement in their lives. Unfortunately, 6 of them did not return home. And what was shocking for me was even when 6 had died, even when a few were injured, even when and you can see how they were struggling to even just scale the walls to get inside the perimeter so that they can commence the process. These are human beings. These are people we live with in our communities. People who have gone through educational system, secondary schools or senior high schools, universities, technical universities, people who we expect to be the next generation to move the country from what we say, from taxation to production, to change things. And like I said, the part that even disturbed me the more was the fact that even when the decision was taken to disperse off, so they should go and come at a later date, they were insisting to continue with the process, telling you how human life means nothing to us, even at this age. Even at this age. That their colleagues who they came with, 6 of them have died. Their colleagues who they came with, some of them are undergoing treatment. And they said, go home. So you come a different day. They are insisting that no, we will not go home. Because they do not trust the system, which we, the older ones, have created for them. They do not trust that if they go and come, they would have a fair opportunity. They do not give reverence to the fact that people have lost their lives and things has to come to a halt. They insisted that things should continue. And if these people tomorrow graduate and or grow through the system and become the ones with guns, what society would we live in? Would these be people with empathy or emotional intelligence? And these are the issues we are going to discuss this morning. Joining the panel, like I indicated earlier, is EMMANUEL KOTIN, my brother, my beard brother. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Thank you too. I see you are wearing black. I'm sure you are mourning the young ones.
Definitely.
Right.
I think it's a national tragedy.
I'll zoom in straight with you. We had 8 people die from a helicopter crash.
Yeah.
They were older. We've had 6 people. These 8 people were already in some form of employment, going to do things to improve on a situation for us. These are 6 young people who woke up in the morning, bid farewell to their parents, that they are going to see whether they will be recruited so that they can get employment, jobs. Only for their parents to hear at the close of business that your children or your child is dead. When as a security person, when you heard this information, what was your first reaction?
Well, Kojo, thanks for having me once again. And very good morning to my honorable men, one from the MPP, the other from the NDC. And very good morning to our cherished listeners. In fact, Kojo, it was a very traumatizing spectacle to watch when the news broke. And I think as a country, it's about time we become very intentional with our policies. For Christ's sake, we are not in wartime. And it's in wartime or countries like the US that have self-imposed the global police tax on itself that recruits every now and then in large numbers, and they need large people in reserves. So I think what the minister of the ministries, the 3 security ministries, interior and then defense, and by extension, national security was a ministry, and under this regime, it was collapsed under the interior. We need to need assessment to see if indeed the kind of recruitment we are recruiting, we actually need them or otherwise. I've seen that recruitment into the security sector has become political, an avenue to give young men and women jobs. And the truth of the matter is that being recruited to our security services is not an avenue for jobs or for employment at all. It's a service you are rendering to your country at the peril of your life. So in other jurisdictions, you are incentivized to even join. But in our part of the country, you see that because we have failed in our job generation mechanism as a country, that is why we have this on our hands. And if you look at what happened and your commentary about even when they asked them to go, some even refused to go and still slept at the same venue till the next day. Even the next day, you still saw people loitering around in white and black, hoping that something like that will go on. But can you blame them? Even at the level of government, I was expecting that they will suspend all the recruitment processes across the country and not only in Greater Accra, in memory of these 6, because we have never recorded in the history of this country that we are doing a military or any form of security recruitment and we've gotten a stampede that has resulted in any form of fatality. But this time we are talking about 6 innocent girls. And what is more challenging is that the fatalities are girls. And you know how we are trying to encourage our women to join our security services to balance the male-female ratio within that sector. With this spectacle, I'll tell you that it has gone to paint a negative picture in the minds of parents or even girls to even put themselves for this kind of recruitment. So I will still insist and call on government that the entire process across the country should be stopped. Then a commission is formed to investigate processes leading to this. Then we can put it into policy to forestall some of these things occurring in the future. The issue when situations of this nature happen, you see us rushing to have knee-jerk processes in place, it doesn't help in the longer term. How would the military put a committee in place to investigate its own? Look at, I understand the military hierarchy have made some of the people in charge of the Accra recruitment to step aside. Stepping aside is not the way to go. There has to be consequences. We are talking about fatalities here. We cannot continue to record needless deaths, and they are not deterrent measures for people who are paid by the taxpayers' money to reason for me and you. And they go to bed, people lose their lives, they go and draw their salaries and go back to their families. It is about time we start to put processes in place to make it deterrent enough. Then when you are given a responsibility of this magnitude, you can, look at what the Interior Minister's press conference yesterday was all about. They have suspended the process to Monday because they want to do everything digital. Is that correct? What processes went into this thinking? What consultations were done? You understand? We don't need to be having knee-jerk or premature ejaculations to serious national issues like this. There is no any security recruitment that can be done entirely digital. For body inspections, it is done. And you see, the school placement system, when it was removed from the headmasters into the hands of the politicians, how has that process gone? Look, I had somebody from my hometown, Saboba. Look at how deprived Saboba is. This guy got aggregate 9, honorable. Aggregate 9, given the deprivation of educational infrastructure in the north. This gentleman wanted St. James seminary to go. He didn't get the placement. They took him to some school far away. So how legit is even this digital system we are talking about? Now, we are trying to move recruitment from the hands of our security agencies directly under the operations of a political player? Are we joking as a country? So it's about time we have foresight in how we propagate our policies when it comes to security. I heard him mention that if we are supposed to come in the morning and you come in the afternoon, if you are supposed to come in the afternoon and you come in the morning, you'll be disqualified. In security, we talk about punctuality. What are we communicating? So I want the Interior Ministry have these processes in place and they allow what happened to happen, or they were simply responding to what happened because Ghanaians are talking about it. And what are the processes? You do electronic recruitment. You know the number of people who are coming to your center for body selection. What were you supposed to do, Kojo? You do what we call infrastructure management of the place you are bringing the people and put the necessary protocols in place. And soldiers are not trained for crowd control management. So they should have sought the help of the police to come and help them in manning the place and putting the recruits in an orderly manner to enter or otherwise. You saw recruits jumping over the wall. What kind of indiscipline is that? A disciplined institution like the military, people are jumping over the wall to join such an institution. So it's two things. We have failed in our job creation policies, and there's no politics around this area. Because if you look at what we are all seeing on our screen, it's a national shame for all of us as citizens. How would it be possible that we bring very intentional program like the free senior high school policy, which is good, because any developed country have large population being literate. Is that not the case? So what are the intentional policies to make up from the large volume of people we are bringing out through the free senior high school thing? And we think that everything must be degrees. Everything must be book qualifications. If you are called a doctor or a professor, it means that you have something here. When other countries are running away from that and going into technical entrepreneurial skills, it's only in Africa here. We see people.
Let's listen to the Interior Minister, because you made reference to him, so I'll come back to you to continue. So let's.
This will begin on Monday, November 17, 2025. It will be published in the national dailies on the ministries and its agencies' website and on social media platforms. There are two major channels to purchase application voucher. Honorable Minister for Government Communication, the Minister of Interior is working to make sure that everything that we do in that ministry move from paper to paperless. In line with that, at the comfort of your home, probably for the first time, you can start the process and finish with your mobile phone. Via the USSD dial code, which will be published hopefully by Sunday, because we don't want, for lack of better words, a rush. So we'll publish that on Sunday, just before the Monday. The details of the web address and the USSD shortcode details will be in publication, like I said, on Sunday. The system we are developing is robust, centralized e-recruitment portal, and an initiative implemented to ensure harmonization and standardization of the conduct of the recruitment across various agencies under the Ministry of Interior.
So it's interesting, I mean, to say that the process will start and end online. I'm wondering how you'll be doing physical inspection online. And you even noticed when he said it, Felix sitting behind him, if you could see his facial expression.
Yeah.
It was more or less like, anyway, let me just leave that.
So you see, this is
So in 2 minutes, so I can go.
This is very populist at best. You see, there are difference between policy issues and administrative issues. The politicians to allow our security agencies to manage administrative issues and concentrate on issues of policy. You see, there are this school of thought that our security agencies have been weaponized by politicians, and there's this polarization even among the personnel, depending on which government is in power or is not in power. Recruitment, anywhere in the world, even if you look at best practices, you don't get ministers coming to superintend over how recruitments are done and no. It's done by the agencies. That is why they are there. So this one is populist at best, and I think that is just a premature ejaculation to what happened. And I have an issue with Felix. Look, GBC, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, look at the infrastructure you have. For God's sake, a whole finance minister go to parliament, and from parliament, the best place the finance minister can appear to get education to the good people of this country is a private TV station. Are we not learning from the BBC? So even the infrastructure you have, all these private stations, they rent your infrastructure. Why do you want to run down our national infrastructure? And he's the Minister of Government, whatever. Because they've removed the Minister of Information out of this thing. And I was just discussing this, Felix said you did a reflection on that, because I didn't catch up with that. I feel that we have to be nationalistic and see how we can grow our own. Look, GBC or GTV, go to any hamlet in Ghana, that's the station of choice. So if you want to communicate government policy, is it not where you go? Do you go to a private station? I pray Calvin Taylor don't come across this, because it will be serious. You know Calvin Taylor, he will demonize and even insult everybody.
Right, thank you. So, Honorable FOKUO, why do we even ask people who want to serve the nation to buy forms in the first place? Why, you know you need 2,000 or whatever number of people, and I'll come to why you even need a number. I mean, KOTIN mentioned it, but you know you need 2,000 people. Why not just have a platform? People go in there and fill. In that system, you do your sorting, you have your 2,100 people, and then you invite them. I want to serve the nation. Why should I buy a form to serve the nation in the first place?
Okay, thank you. The first thing I'll say is, I mean, a tragedy has befallen the nation. This is a big tragedy. We've lost 6 young lives. Others were injured as well. And we should even not limit it to the individuals that we lost, but their families, the trauma and all that. So it's a big tragedy. And I'll first commiserate with the families of these young ones who fell. I believe as young people, all they wanted was to get jobs, and they entrusted their lives and everything in the hands of adults, people managing this country, the machinery, to be able to take them through the necessary processes for them to get the jobs that they so much adore. You know, so they entrusted all these in the hands of adults, in the hands of people managing affairs, and we disappointed them badly in a really sad way. And I believe this is awakening to us as a nation, for us to look at all these processes and the best practices across the world. But must we lose so much before we learn from the best practices across the world? The answer is no. But now it has happened. And I believe, even as we think of setting up a commission of inquiry into this, for us to understand, these are postmortems, okay, for us to understand what happened, why it happened, what went wrong and all that. We will learn from it, but I mean, the wrongs have been committed already. We need to learn from it. I believe it's not only Ghana, I mean, this is now a question to even ask, that we do mass recruitments, for security services. So best practices should be available across the world. Even similar countries, we don't have to think about always the developed countries, I mean, US and whatever. Similar countries like us within the West African sub-region and similar countries that we can compare ourselves. How not a new concept. I believe we could have done it better. We could have done it better. But I mean, I've heard, like you played the video. I also watched on TV what the Interior Minister said and all that. That now we are going to look at it from a digital perspective. Yes, I mean now, I mean digitalization has taken a lot of hassle from the everyday work that we do and all that. But for security services, I believe at a point in time, you would need to do physical examination, no doubt. These days with AI and all that, if you decide that maybe you would use digital means to look at the people physically and all that. I don't know how you can beat AI and all that. Somebody might appear fit in a video, but maybe in reality is not the case. You might struggle. So at some point, this will come up. You see, it's like these days going to board an airline. You can sit in your home and even pick the seat that you want and all. Digitalization has helped us a lot to overcome some of the challenges that previously we thought, I mean, we could not do. So, I mean, in all, I believe where we are now is lessons to be learned. What has happened, sadly, has happened. What is left, we need to see going forward how we can do this in a better way, across the country. From what I'm hearing, the list of people that were to be recruited was about 4,000 or something, 2,100, whatever, versus the people that applied.
It's 4,000. People who applied were 60,000.
So that's nationwide, yes.
And they whittled the numbers to 30,000, and 4,000 slot was available.
So if you look at the slots that were available versus the people that applied, it tells you the issue of unemployment amongst the youth. Okay, and that is a big issue. That is a big issue. And that is why I don't want to go back to the budget, because we just, rounded up, the discussion on the budget. But then it asks you, with this that is confronting the nation now, you want to recruit 4,000 people and 60,000 applied. Really, was this addressed well in the budget? There was a line that said 800,000 people to be recruited in the coming year, and you ask yourself, is it for real? 800,000 people in Ghana to be recruited within one fiscal year, which means every quarter you're going to recruit about 200,000. It sounds really interesting, but we need to be realistic and we need to be real with the youth. If we promise them of programs that would create jobs, for them. If we promise them, like it was done for this fiscal year, 2025, that there was going to be one program called Ejumera, and it was going to employ a lot of youth that were going to be turned into entrepreneurs and all that. If it's not happening, then you disappoint the youth. And you see, I'm sure deep down, if you did some surveys among these youth who went to WAKYE and other centers across the country, I would doubt that each of them really had the passion to enter the military versus really the urge and the desperation to get a job. You know what I mean? Yeah, I could bet my last peso that a lot of them, the desperation was to get a job, not really about the military. You get what I mean? So it tells us we need to do more for the youth.
I still need you to.
These youth.
I still would come back to you on the question of why they sell the forms, because in here right now you are the only legislator in here. So I'll still come back to you on that question. But Honorable Aka, from where Honorable FOKUO ended, 60,000 young men are buying forms to want to be among a possible 4,000 that will be picked. That's 4,000 over 60,000. That's relatively about 0.003333% possibility. Now, is this not an indication of a failed system? Are we not disappointing the young ones? Because like you said, clearly, if you should do a survey, all these 60,000 people are not people who were going up to say, I want to be in the military. They are going there because they see no other hope. And I'm sure these people would also buy police forms. These same people, some will buy prisons, some will buy SEPs, customs. They will keep buying all of these forms, hoping that they would also be on government payroll.
1 million.
A form is what? 350 Ghana cedis. Yes. And on top of that, they are making 21 million of these people. Just from sale of forms.
Where does this money go?
21 million.
Okay. My sincere and heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families and then to the whole nation. I mean, it's a national tragedy. And I just get discouraged about the military. Let us put the blame squarely where it belongs to. Because I've always advocated that the military is the most disciplined sector in our country. If you have followed my submissions on various platforms, I'm of the opinion that every Ghanaian, that's for the youth, before you go to do any work, you must do your national service in the military. It is on record that I've said these things because I believe that the military is well disciplined. Other countries which have done that have progressed because of this. If you take Singapore, every youth must go to the military. And then if you take Singapore, if you take South Korea, if you take Israel, everybody must go to. And the development of Israel, according to them, is based on the fact that everybody goes to the military. And that's where they come out. They have innovations, they have wild thinking, and can do wonders. So I trust the military because I myself personally, I had a little bit of training, and it has shaped my life because I attended a maritime university. Those days it was Nautical College. And we trained with the naval officers. We sat in the same classroom and we did the same exercise with them. And there was that discipline. Every morning you go for jogging, you go for your tea, then you come back for parade and all that. That discipline, because a marine engineer, I was a marine engineer on the ship. And there should be that discipline. So I believe in this. If they say 2 o'clock, it should be 2 o'clock. Like this morning, I came here about 6:20, and the security man said, no, nobody is here. So I had to stay at the gate outside there before he allowed me in when I saw Felix coming in. Then I came in.
So per Mutake's analogy, you would have been disqualified because you came 30 minutes early.
No, I said 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, so I have to be here because based on the fact that there could be traffic on the way, I had to set off early to make sure that I don't come late. So this thing is very good. And I've had confidence in the military, but of late, let us face it, because everybody somehow in our hearts, we are scared of the military. So when they do something wrong, we can't say it subconsciously. And you sell forms for 60,000. And you are going to take only 4,000. It doesn't make sense. So let many people apply for this. But that does not allow these people to misbehave. Those involved, they have to make sure that they put certain things in place. That you want 4,000 people, the government has given you the... I don't see why maybe the politicians want to try and defend. If they do that, they worsen the situation because they have nothing to do with this. They have nothing. The fault is from the military. Where I'm saying that is a disciplined institution. And now they are losing it. Look at the plane crash. If it does that, it brings the government into disrepute, thinking that the government is not doing it, but it is the military. You have to make sure that everything is done properly. Look, that stadium it can take only 7,000 people, I learned from other platform I went. But they invited 21,000 people.
Yeah. That's unquestionable.
I mean, that is incredible. Look at the people there.
These are people's children.
Yes. Yes.
University of Ghana
Yes.
Stadium is there.
And even there, the military, they have the intelligence, they have the knowledge.
Imagine this, Honorable.
Yes.
How?
They have to find a way.
Honorable,
They are prisoners.
Kotin, what even irked me the most was when the release from them said that it was an unexpected search. How can the institution that manages intelligence, manage intelligence, say that it was unexpected?
Yes. So the military efficiency did not come into play this time. But we must hold people responsible for this. Yeah. You see, I don't see why. Politicians should not come in at all. It is not a fault of the president. It is not a fault of the interior minister. I heard the regional minister, who is the head of the RECSEC, trying to... No, they should stay out.
It doesn't even fall
and yes,
at all.
And they should hold those responsible, because we have the CDS, we have the subordinates there, and they might have put people in place to undertake this exercise. What were the plans they put in place? That we are going to select 4,000 people, and you have 60,000 applicants. Let's forget that there are no jobs. No, that is a different matter altogether. We can debate that on a different platform. But now, you have 60,000 people coming to be interviewed for 4,000. It is up to you to put strategies in place to make sure that there is no chaos. That is unacceptable at all. No, you can't defend this at all. Because I said I had a military training, and this is not how we did things at all.
And
no.
Emergency response to
yes.
They didn't put those things. There were
no ambulances and all that. Yes. Yes.
And when some of the recruits fell, their colleagues were looking on and taking videos. How?
You see, I was following this Israel-Hamas war, and whenever Israeli soldiers, 2 or 3 die, it is big news.
Yes.
Even those who are at war. Soldiers, if one dies, it is a serious matter. So it means that military even are trained in such a way that they go to war and they should not die. How much more here?
Yeah.
You are doing recruitment.
Even there are prisoners of war who died.
Yes.
They want to account for every single body.
Yes. So we are not doing something right. We must hold people responsible. Look, I use my own example. I was on the ship one time, and there was overflow of oil on the deck. And as a chief engineer, I was asleep when they called me. I put my hand in my head and said, Jesus Christ, I'm finished. So I went quickly to my cabin and packed my bags, ready to go home. Even though I didn't do it, but I felt I was responsible as a chief engineer. So when the investigation came, they flew with a helicopter, came on board to investigate. Luckily enough, the oil did not get into the water. And they told me, I said, well, Uneasy is the head, that wears the crown. I'm the leader there, I'm ready to go home. Because I failed.
Yes.
I was ready to go home. I said, no, I can't live with this.
No, you have a different integrity level. We don't have it in this country.
That is why I'm saying that the military, something should happen. Yes, here if you do that, you are odd. You're odd. So they said no. When they asked them, they said no, the third engineer was on duty and he calls us. But there I felt I was the leader. Okay, then they asked for report. And then because of somebody must be dismissed. Good. But it should not be like this.
Back to you, Kotin. I mean, you did a calculation for me very well. Yeah. I see this gentleman sitting. I don't even know whether there was the children or the young people sitting, whether there was even plans on refreshment for them under the hot sun.
Nothing.
I have no idea whether there was something like that being done.
You're on your own.
Why are we not even doing this recruitment on continuous basis? Why do we have to wait at a particular time, pick 4,100, wait for another 1 year? Why can't we do this? Why can't the portal be opened and on continuous basis we are recruiting people?
So let's go back to history. You know, the military was not a place we wanted to even go. We were incentivized those days to join the military and other security agencies. So at a point, when these job issues became a challenge for the country, these security agencies became avenue for bread and butter this time. So they used the forms as a stopgap measure to kind of reduce the numbers. But I have realized that, look, that is not even solving the problem. It's a ripoff. Because how am I putting my life to serve my country and I have to pay for that?
Exactly.
Look, I said this story somewhere. My own daughter, when she finished high school in the US, at her graduation, that is where she was recruited to join the Air Force. Those who wanted to join the Army, Navy, so they were not a lot.
How much did she pay for her forms?
Nothing. And you guess what? They are even paying her college fees. On top of that, they gave her $50,000. Do you understand that? So we should have a system in place where our security or agencies can recruit from our communities, one, from our cadet corps at the secondary schools, second, or at our universities. And there should be a deliberate national policy for every Ghanaian to have a military training as a way of national service. It will instill discipline in us. Even that process by itself can even help the security agencies on air talents indirectly. And these talents, it will not be where you have to announce you are recruiting when we have this number of people congregating because it's bread and butter issue. Lately, don't you hear military personnel involved in armed robbery? Don't you hear police personnel?
They are already scaling walls.
Involved in armed robbery. It's because of this very process. Because the processes are not transparent enough. They are not regimental enough. And as a serious country, Parliament should have been inviting the CDS to come and explain why this thing happened. Not the CDS putting a committee in place and asking the line officers who were in charge to resign. Look at the 8 who died fighting Galamsey. What have you done about the Galamsey fight? So Omanibwame and Co, they just lost their lives for nothing. Look at the political massaging we are doing in the name of NIMOS. I was listening to the finance minister yesterday. How much was voted? 150 million. That is so scanty, just a drop in the kitty. So it means that we are not even prepared to fight Galamsey.
The Black Star is getting the same amount NIMOS is getting.
It's getting. Meanwhile, we are being confronted with an existential threat. So I was saying that, look, if we are intentional to fight Galamsey, let's leave it in the hands of the military. The CDS give commands to his CEOs that, look, I don't want to see these terrorists. I call them terrorists because if you go to our Galamsey side, foreigners are more than Ghanaians. And it has become a place most terrorist organizations radicalize and recruit, apart from the financial influence they get from this. You understand? And I also ask a question. It's a supply and demand kind of thing, Honorable. The gold board said they don't buy gold from these illegal miners. Is that not it? Where do the illegal miners sell their gold to?
Right.
So that was just to show. So these 6 young girls who died because they just wanted to serve their country, they should give them state barrier, immortalize them, and set an annual series of education so that these things don't repeat by itself.
Right.
Going merely by recruiting people from the bereaved families, this thing doesn't go far enough. Or giving them money doesn't go far enough.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, viewers. Thank you for your time. Thank you for staying with us this morning. Thank you to Professor Lord MENSAH, Economist and Head of Local Government Services, Dr. Peter TERKPER, an economist, Honorable Peter KWAKYE-ACKAH, a former MP for Arnenfi Central, Honorable TWENEBOA FOKUO, MP for Manso, Nkwanta, and also a deputy ranking member for Economic the Economy and Development Committee at Parliament. Also joining us on Zoom for the first session was Michael BOATENG, a tax expert. And then joining us for the second session is my brother EMMANUEL, Executive Director for Africa Center for Security and Counterterrorism. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's keep the discussions ongoing. Let's engage more. Let's try to make the best out of it. And I'm hoping that within the course of this week, we'll get better resolutions on the fortunes of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. And if we do, Saturday I would announce. If we don't, I'll reflect again. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.